Hello, I'm Mare Simone, and I'm a certified sex surrogate partner and also a certified Tantra educator. And I've been practicing these skills of better love and pleasure for over 25 years. So you could say I'm really passionate about this subject, and you would be correct. Because I really love pleasure, and I think that it's much underrated. I think that more than just a physical enjoyment of pleasure, it's very beneficial for your body, for your physical body, and also for your emotional states. Because when you're feeling pleasure, you're really tuned into the source of your vitality. And when you can tap into that quality of energy, it really helps you to become more tuned in to that creative life force, and it helps you to be able to tap into how you can be more in the driver's seat in your life. And I don't just mean in the bedroom, but it actually starts there. So the more you can connect with your body and feel the power of pleasure and internalize and learn how to channel that energy, the more it increases your connection between your body and your mind. And that's a really valuable and important place to connect, because when your mind and your body are integrated and connected with one another, the pleasure that you feel can radiate and internalize and flow throughout your entire body. And when that happens, it's highly energizing, very healing, and it feels tremendous. Not to mention full body O's, I call them, or full body OMGs when they're really enormous, because we can access that energy and fill up with it. It's kind of like fuel. Think about it for a minute. It's the stuff that made life, right? We were all conceived in an orgasm. We came shooting into this world through an orgasm of our dad and into our mom, and hopefully she had one too. Well, that's another story, and we'll talk about that in the next video. But back to what I want to share is how to have full body O's, which I want to emphasize right here is very, very valuable for men who come sooner than they'd like to, or also for men who can't seem to get it up or maintain an erection long enough. Because this system of full body O's helps to integrate and connect pleasure throughout your whole body, so that you're feeling it not only in your body, but it's also felt and experienced as an energetic and stimulating experience that flows up into your brain and throughout every single organ in your body. In fact, if you look up the etymology, that is the roots of the word orgasm, its root comes from Greek, and it means an engorgement or a ripeness that can occur in any organ or any part of the body. Wow, when I read that, I thought, that's so tantric. That's so advanced. That's so evolved that it's amazing to think that that's the roots of that particular word. It just goes to show you that in ancient times, we knew things that we've somehow forgotten, or at least somewhat, partly forgotten. And so I've made it my mission to really help remember and reclaim the great states of sexual pleasure, because so many people have pushed those feelings far back into the subconscious mind so deeply that they have difficulty accessing them. And I think that's part of the reason why men and women get bored in bed. Bedroom boredom is one of the main causes of sexual incompatibility, and it really stems, I think, from men not being able to really hold their sexual power to its fullest extent and last as long as they and their partners would like them to. And when that happens, it just becomes, kind of like being masturbated on. It doesn't feel like a union experience until a man can really open his body and feel the fullness of pleasure flow up and down his spine and radiate out through his eyes and out through his hands and into his partner so that she can feel the pleasure that he's feeling and ride along with him. And when he can learn how to internalize this energy, he can also feel the pleasure that she's feeling and not be overwhelmed by it. Because that's one of the greatest complaints that men tell me about is that they, first of all, they come too soon. And it's most challenging when they're with their partner and she's starting to get really excited and turned on and feeling her pleasure and he feels her pleasure and it turns him on even more, which makes it really hard for him to hold back. And it also makes it really hard for her to have a very satisfying orgasm. If she's concerned and worried about her excitement taking him over the edge. I know that was a dilemma for me, and I tried to be discreet about it, but I also noticed that I was starting to hold back my pleasure so that my partner wouldn't get too excited or think that I was too close and that he could then let go. Because what he didn't know at the time, and what I was just beginning to discover, is that we can be multi-orgasmic beings. Particularly women are naturally multi-orgasmic, except that we don't have sometimes the proper stimulation or the kind of stimulation that can linger and grow and internalize and last long enough for us to reach those heightened peaks that we're capable of. So this became an interesting challenge for me to find the best methods to help facilitate men to lasting longer so that women could relax more deeply and together, men and women would come together and have more pleasure together. Because why not? If it's possible to feel your partner's pleasure and to ride one another's orgasm, it's kind of like getting a free ride. And when you learn how to do that in a way that's satisfying for you too, you both can stimulate and activate one another back and forth again and again and again, and have your orgasms last for hours. And your pleasure lasts as long as you desire until you get hungry or it's time to go to sleep or get on with your day, depending on what time it is. But when you've got the time, I recommend that you practice and explore and experiment to really discover the full power and potential that's available to you. Because trust me, it's much deeper, it's much more amazing than most of us ever know. And that makes me sad to think that some people go to their grave never having fully experienced the full potential that their body is capable of, or at least fuller than status quo. So there's a lot to say. There's a lot to share. And I hope you've got a few minutes to really join me in this because I don't normally give this away to people who aren't my top clients paying full dollar for private sessions. But I feel it's time to share this with the world because we're heading towards craziness in the world and we're heading towards some critical mass. And I don't know what to describe it as because I think we're all in the midst of making it right now. But if I have a choice in the matter, and I'm sure I do, my ambition is to bring more love and more pleasure and more joy and satisfaction throughout the entire planet. Because I think that that's one of the ways that we're going to restore our humanness and reclaim our capacity to feel love and deep, deep pleasure and full body bliss and the kinds of states that make you say, oh my God, really? It's in us, just waiting to be awakened. And some of the times we use fantasies or project ideas upon the experience. Sometimes it's valuable, but I want to share with you something that goes even deeper and in many ways is much more gratifying because it's really about connecting with your partner rather than having your own experience and masturbating on them or with them or sharing at a very minor level. Because when you open yourself to feel full body pleasure, it's like medicine, and it radiates throughout your whole being. And it can rejuvenate and energize and eliminate pain and help burn fat. It can also inspire your mind and your creativity. Just 2 to 4 sexual encounters a week can help most people to reduce heart attacks and other heart conditions and diseases by half. That's pretty amazing. And I'm sure that the benefits that pleasurable orgasmic experiences can provide for our sex organs as well are numerous. So I want to encourage you to think of pleasure and sexual love as good medicine, and stop thinking about it in any other way of negativity, at least, and get over the fact that pleasure is sometimes an indulgent experience that can overwhelm you and make you feel like nothing else matters in that moment. Because believe me, we all need those experiences where sometimes we can just take a very luscious, quick vacation inside of our own bodies. We're connecting with our partner and creating a moment of magic together. So, I want to share with you a technique that I call the full body O, or the full body OMG if it's a really enormous and majorly skillful one. But first you got to learn how to internalize orgasms so that they're not just a genital event or a genital sneeze, as some people refer to it, but instead as an internal and full body experience that you can move from your sex up into your belly, which we know of as the power center. Excuse me. Because when you can take pleasure and turn it into power, you have access to unlimited powerful abilities to create and manifest what you like in your world. And that's in and of itself even another tremendous aspect of great sex, is that it gives you creative energy that you can use in numerous ways to create all sorts of wonderful things in your life, starting with good health and happy body, but moving into brilliance of mind and creativity and just deeper love and intimacy and more psychic. Some people say it makes them feel smarter, and it stimulates your brain cells, and it just helps you be more whole in your life. Because so many of us culturally were suppressed at very, very early ages. In some cases, so early that we didn't even realize that we were being conditioned and shamed and guilted about our sexuality, because we didn't even have logical minds to think at that early young age. Such formative and tender years. So I want to help you reprogram your mind and your body to really discover the full potential of what's possible within you. How much pleasure can you let yourself feel, and how much enjoyment can you share with a partner, and how long can this experience last, and what does it feel like afterwards? In fact, I think that that's the most telling and evident sign that you've had an awesome experience, is what you feel like in that overflow afterglow, where you're just maybe beaming with sweat and your body is still glowing from the heat, and you're feeling that vitality and life force brimming and overflowing exuberantly throughout your body. And even after that intensity feeling of afterglow dies down, there's a glow that stays with you for days, literally, or at least a long, significant amount of time, until the next opportunity for you to dive into another layer of ecstatic pleasure. Whether you're doing this by yourself or by sharing it with a partner, I want you to know that this is your experience that you can gift yourself with, and that in my sharing this technique, the system with you, my hope is that you offer to yourself full body O's as often as possible, because they're really valuable. They're really, to me, it's the gateway to the source of your life force. And when you can tap into the source of your very own life force, you can channel energy in ways that makes the secret pale, because this is the real secret within the secret, is to utilize pleasure and positivity combined with positive thoughts to manifest quick actions in your life. And not only that, it brings much deeper connection and intimacy between you and your partner, and or you and God, or you and your creator, whatever name you give that energy that created you. Realize that we all came here in a wave of orgasmic pleasure that came through our dad. And hopefully our moms had an orgasm too, so that it was a real combined union and a conscious conception of love and bliss and connection. But for many of us, that wasn't the case. But we can turn that around, because we've been working for years towards liberating our sexuality and really awakening the greatest states that are within us. And it's time to take an even bigger quantum step now toward connecting your heart and your body along with your spirit, so that your sexual feelings can flow past your sex, up into your belly and right into your heart, and generate that connection between love and sex, and even beyond, into a place of deep spiritual connection, a spiritual connection between you and your divine source, or you and your divine beloved. In Tantra, the practice of sacred sexuality, we refer to one another as God and Goddess, because we all have a little spark of that within us. And when you can open that God, Goddess within you and really let your partner see and feel and connect and honor that beauty that's within you, that creates a tremendously deep bonding, because you're not just sharing bodies, but you're sharing hearts and souls. How high is that? So the 4 foundations that I'd like to share with you that'll help you to access powerful pleasure. Start with what you're thinking in your mind. Because the more open your mind is to feeling pleasure, and not so concerned about the worries and the fears and the anxieties about the things that you don't want to have happen, the more pleasure you can feel. So I want to banish for now and for good any thoughts that get in your way of really feeling pleasure. And here's a quick way to do it. Whenever you notice yourself being distracted, whether you're thinking about simple things like, did I lock the door? What am I going to do at work today? Or putting together your grocery list, doing the laundry in your head, or worse yet, worrying about not being able to satisfy your partner, and worrying about not being able to last long enough, or not being able to give your partner that feeling that they're the love god or goddess in your life. All those worries are like thieves that rob us of our capacity to feel. So stop it right now. And the best way to stop it is to choose a powerful, positive, uplifting thought. What is it that you would like to experience? Open yourself to that instead. And it's simple, just by choosing a thought that will engage you in doing that action. I like to choose a thought like, I open myself to be filled with rejuvenating, positive, pleasureful life forces. And when I think that way, when I'm feeling pleasure, it helps me break the pattern that's normally kind of common between men and women, where we're getting close to a pleasureful experience, a release of pleasure, and we start to get tense and we tighten our muscles, which helps us to really grab that experience. But I'll tell you what, it also makes that experience kind of like slip through your fingers, or slip through your legs in this case, because when you're holding on so tight, there's so much energy that's going into the tension of trying to hold on and trying to really let go and have that orgasm, that it blocks you from an even deeper and more enormous pleasure. Trust me, I know this because I've experienced both sides. I've been one who's chased after those orgasms and been so close to having one, and then it didn't happen. How frustrating that was. And when it happened time after time, it started to become a downward spiral. And then, of course, the more I'd worry about it, the worse it got. And this went on for years for me. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that because I work with a lot of people who have very similar experiences. So the solution that I've come up with is to consider opening yourself to full body pleasure. But that's only one of the 4 foundations. The other 3 involve physical activities that you can do all within one breath. In fact, you can do all 4 within a breath, and I would recommend that you do them in as many breaths as possible. By connecting these foundations, you set up a powerful, strong structure for you to have very high, expanded, powerful, pleasureful experiences. So the other 3 foundations start with one that you're probably already familiar with, which is using the muscles to pull pleasure in or to stop the flow of the ejaculate. But it's actually more than just stopping the ejaculate, stopping the release that you want to be effective in. But instead, I'd like to invite you to think about drinking pleasure into your body or pumping it into your body by using your muscles in a contract, relax, rhythmic kind of way. Because by pumping and relaxing, you gain control without becoming exhausted. If you're just trying to tighten those muscles to hold back the flow of the ejaculation, it's kind of like trying to stop a dam from breaking when the floodgates are loose and the waters are gushing. And sometimes we gush too. And it's nice to not have to hold any of that back. But instead of trying to hold it back or control it, I want to encourage you guys to internalize the energy by using the muscles in more an inviting kind of way, pulling in and sucking and drawing the energy up, but combining it now with 2 more really important elements, and that's the in-breath and the out-breath. And I separate them because they're both so distinctly important, and each one plays a different role in how your orgasm expands or contracts. So, if you're feeling close to coming and you're holding your breath because you don't want to feel too much, you're literally causing your body to forcibly have a short-lived orgasm, a release that's more like a sneeze, more like just a letting go because you can't hold back any longer kind of an experience. So instead of holding your breath and tightening those muscles and trying to really just not feel, I want to invite you to do something different. Instead, I want to invite you to breathe pleasure into your body while you're squeezing and relaxing those muscles, and while you're thinking the thought, I open myself to be filled with rejuvenating life forces. Or any thought that's similar to that, that invites pleasure in a very positive and welcoming way. Squeezing and relaxing and breathing in deeply and fully and high, intense connection. Letting that energy go all the way up through your body and even into your brain. Because it loves living in all these parts of your body. Orgasmic energy can fill up every cell and every organ in your body, leaving you feeling tingly and alive forever, or for days, or for as long as you can stay in that state. So, the last and most important foundation is how you express pleasure. And I say it's the most important one, first of all, because for some reason, it's the most difficult one for men to do. And I think it's because men have been conditioned from the time they were little boys to not feel too much, to not cry, to not be too loud, to not be too vocal. Guys have big lungs, and they're always being pushed down and taught to not feel too much. And or guys are maybe even thought of and taught that they're too feminine if they feel too much pleasure and if they express the pleasure. So guys tend to just wait and hold off and hold their breath, and maybe, just maybe, when they finally have an ejaculation, they'll grunt. I've experienced that, and sometimes not even that. I've seen how some men, tragically in my mind, just don't express anything. They just hold their breath, and when it happens, and nobody even knew about it. At least I didn't. You're missing out on something, guys. I want you to practice this tonight or the next time you're with yourself. And it's better if you practice it first by yourself, because then you'll get, without your partner saying, well, what are you doing? You'll get the value of what I'm trying to offer you. And then you'll know how important and true it is. And then you'll be able to tell your partner, I'm doing this because I learned on the internet, or you can say whatever you learned it from. But I'd like you to give me credit that you learned that there's a way to have a full body orgasm that opens you up to pleasure all the way up to the top of your head by expressing the sound. Now think of it logically. Pleasure can rise all the way up your spine. And when you feel this pleasure and it's building, there's only two ways for it to go. One is out, which is the normal way, which we call a release or an ejaculation for guys. And the other way is to internalize the energy through this 4 foundation method and bring it up through your system. And pretty soon you start to feel this welling, this swelling of pleasure that just fills your whole body from head to toe. I've even heard people say that their teeth tingle. I don't know, but it's really powerful. And I'd like to hear what your experiences are. So I'd love for you to practice this. And if you're feeling a little shy, be sure to do it when there's no neighbors around. Or if you want to moan or sigh, it doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be an open throat, outward expression of the pleasure that you're feeling before you reach a climax. So if you can measure pleasure on a scale of 1 to 10, it's around the 6 and 7 that are the high places that aren't too close to coming, but places where you feel a lot of energy, and enough so that you can start to draw this energy in and soak it up and suck it up and drink it in so that your whole body feels connected. We've had so much separation in our bodies, feeling that down there was a place that we had to cover up, and a massage therapist couldn't touch that part without getting arrested, being considered an unlawful experience to touch somebody else in exchange for pleasure, for money. It's just wrong. It's not fair how our bodies are looked upon with so much guilt and shame and negativity and darkness. And it's time to awaken and bring light back into our bodies, our entire bodies, and to connect that generator of life force, that orgasmic organ that can fill up and radiate and shine energy and light throughout your entire body. You know, guys, the tantric term for a man's sex organ is a lingam, which is kind of a funny word, but the translation is something I really truly love. It means the wand of light. And when you can tap into the concept, the idea of having a wand of light, it's a very powerful state of awareness, much more empowering than the other terms that most guys use to refer to their genitals. And having a wand of light is something that you can use with powerful consciousness to illuminate your partner and give her your light. And think of it in that way. Think of yourself channeling your light into your beloved, channeling your love through your light and your light wand, so that both of you get filled with pleasure and rejuvenating life forces. So I hope that this tip this more than tip, these 4 foundations that people have paid a lot of money for, have been valuable for you. And I hope that it's not just something that you'll listen to and think, well, maybe so. But I really hope that you practice, that you try this on yourself and see how it works. And I'd love for you to fill in the comments below on your experiences, good, bad, or confused, because I'm here to help you. And I'd love to help you. So if you put in a great comment, I'll be happy to respond to your comment. If you put in a great question, I'll be happy to respond to your questions. Any question is a great question because it'll lead you to a great experience. So try it and let me know how it felt for you. And try it with your partner and let me know how it felt for both of you together. This is Mare Simone signing off for now until the next time. Looking forward to sharing with you how women can have more pleasure and become multi-orgasmic as well. Thanks for listening, and please pass it on if it's been valuable for you. Share it with those you love. Thanks.